Have you ever felt it? That slow, creeping exhaustion after a conversation, a feeling not of being tired, but of being drained, as if a phantom limb has reached into your chest and siphoned off a part of your very essence, your energy, your optimism, your will. You hang up the phone or you walk away from the coffee shop and you feel lighter, yet emptier. A strange paradox of the soul. You tell yourself it's just a bad day, that you're just tired, but the pattern repeats. With the same person, a friend, a family member, a partner, and the feeling becomes undeniable. You are in the presence of a void, a human black hole whose gravitational pull is slowly, methodically, pulling your world out of orbit. We are told to be kind, to be patient, to give people the benefit of the doubt. These are noble virtues, the bedrock of a compassionate society. But what if these virtues are being weaponized against you? What if your garden of life, which you so carefully tend, is being overrun by weeds? Weeds that look like flowers, weeds that whisper sweet words but whose roots are strangling the life from everything you are trying to grow. This is not a question of morality, of good versus evil in some grand cosmic sense. It is a question of survival, of brutal, pragmatic, and necessary self-preservation. Niccolò Machiavelli, the philosopher of power, the man whose name became synonymous with cunning, understood this better than anyone. He wasn't writing about saints and demons. He was writing about people, about the raw, unfiltered mechanics of human interaction. He knew that in the court of life, you are the prince of your own kingdom, your mind, your energy, your future. And every prince must learn the art of social pruning, the skill of identifying which branches bear fruit and which are dead weight, draining the tree's precious resources. To call someone worthless sounds cruel, unforgivable even. But let us reframe this. It is not a judgment on their intrinsic value as a human being. That is a matter for the gods. It is an assessment of their value to you, to your mission, to your peace. Are they an asset or a liability on the balance sheet of your life? This is the cold, hard calculus Machiavelli would have us perform, not out of malice, but out of a profound and unshakable duty to protect the kingdom of you. The first rule of this pruning is deceptively simple. It is the test of utility and reciprocity. Look past the laughter, the shared memories, the comforting familiarity, and ask a simple, brutal question. What is the flow of energy in this relationship? Does it move in a circle, a mutual exchange of support, inspiration, and value? Or does it flow in a straight line, always from you to them? Think of it like a river. A healthy relationship is a delta, with tributaries flowing in and out, nourishing the land. A worthless connection is a sinkhole. Everything flows in, and nothing ever comes out. It just disappears into the darkness. They call you only when they need something, a ride, money, a shoulder to cry on about a crisis they themselves created, a crisis they will create again and again. They are architects of their own misery, and they want you to be the foreman of their endless reconstruction projects. They listen to your successes with a blank stare, their eyes already scanning for the moment they can pivot the conversation back to their own drama, their own needs, their own unending monologue of the self. This isn't a friendship. It is a transaction where you are the only one paying. You are their unpaid therapist, their on-call crisis manager, their emotional support animal. And what do you receive in return? The privilege of being in their presence, the honor of being drained. The psychological principle at play here is called emotional contagion. We subconsciously catch the emotions of those around us, like a common cold. When you are with someone who is genuinely joyful and optimistic, you feel your own spirits lift. when you are with someone who is a perpetual victim, steeped in negativity and blame. Their gray emotional weather system moves into your own mind, and soon enough, you find it is always raining there. Machiavelli would see this not as a personal failing, but as a strategic blunder. You are allowing a foreign power to control the climate of your own state. You are letting them sow clouds and harvest storms in your fields. Why? Out of guilt, out of a misplaced sense of loyalty, out of the fear of being seen as a bad person. But the prince, the ruler of the self, knows that true loyalty is to the kingdom first, to the preservation of its resources, its morale, its future. A person who consistently takes more than they give, who drains more energy than they contribute, is not a friend. They are a tax, a tribute you are forced to pay for a service you never signed up for. The first cut in social pruning is the easiest, yet the hardest. It is to recognize the leeches, the emotional parasites, and to simply stop feeding them your time, your attention, and your life force. It is not an act of aggression. It is an act of defense. It is the building of a wall not to keep others out, but to keep your own vital resources in. Look at your phone right now. Scroll through your recent calls and messages. Who initiates contact only when the skies in their world are dark? Who celebrates your victories as if they were their own, and who treats them as a minor inconvenience before returning to the main feature film of their own life? The evidence is already there. It has been there for months, for years. You have just been too kind, too hopeful, too afraid to read the verdict. But the kingdom is suffering. Your kingdom. And the first duty of the prince is to the health of the realm. The pruning must begin. Not with a sword, but with silence, with distance, with a slow and deliberate reclaiming of your own energy. A redirection of your own resources back into the things that will actually grow, that will actually bear fruit for you. This is not selfish. It is the definition of sustainable leadership, because if the prince's own well runs dry, the entire kingdom turns to dust. And what good is your loyalty to others then? The second cut is deeper, more subtle. It requires not a ledger but a magnifying glass. Machiavelli was obsessed with the gap between appearance and reality, between what people say and what they do. He knew that the most dangerous enemies are not the ones who declare war, but the ones who offer you a cup of wine while their other hand rests on the hilt of a dagger hidden beneath their cloak. This is the test of integrity and consistency. It is the search for the treacherous ghost of hypocrisy. The world is filled with these phantoms. The friend who preaches loyalty but gossips about you the moment you leave the room. The partner who swears eternal love but whose actions scream indifference. The colleague who calls you a team player to your face but takes sole credit for your joint work in an email to the boss. Their words are a beautiful and elaborate stage play, but their actions are the grimy, chaotic backstage reality, and you are sitting in the audience, applauding the performance while your house is being robbed. A worthless person, in the Machiavellian sense, is a master of this theater. They have learned that words are cheap, effective tools to manage your perception of them, to keep you compliant, to keep you providing them with what they need, be it validation, resources, or a scapegoat. They are the kings and queens of the plausible excuse, the heartfelt apology that is never followed by a change in behavior. The apology is not a tool for reconciliation. It is a tool for resetting the game board so they can make the same move against you again. I'm so sorry, I was just so stressed. You know I didn't mean it like that. I promise I'll change this time. And like a fool, you believe them. Because you want to believe them. Believing them is easier than confronting the terrifying reality that someone you care about is fundamentally not who they appear to be. This creates a painful psychological state known as cognitive dissonance. It's the mental stress you feel when you hold two conflicting beliefs at the same time. I believe this person loves and respects me, and I believe this person's actions consistently disrespect and hurt me. The human mind cannot hold this contradiction for long. It must resolve the tension. So it does one of two things. It either rejects the person, or it rejects the evidence. And for most of us, conditioned to be forgiving and understanding, it is far easier to reject the evidence. We invent excuses for them. We rationalize their behavior. They're just going through a tough time. They don't realize what they're doing. We become their unpaid defense attorneys, arguing their case against our own prosecution, against our own eyes and ears. Machiavelli would weep at such a strategic folly. He would say, "Never mind their words. Words are air. They are mist. Watch their hands, watch their feet. Where do they move when they think no one is looking? What do they do when they have nothing to gain from you in that moment? Does their support for you exist only in public, but vanish in private? Do they defend your name when you are not there to hear it?"